Three, two, one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another exciting episode of MuslimFin. Tonight, we're very excited to have Fatima Parker back, and we're going to be discussing wills and estates. So, Fatima, I think a few weeks ago, we talked about wasiya, specifically that third portion that you mentioned. So if you could just break down some terms for us in terms of what a testator is, and also maybe just discuss the bequeathing of that third portion, and maybe you can just tell us what bequeath means. Thanks, Fatima.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me. And today we're going to be discussing actually the wasiya portion. So in the last discussion that we spoke about, I spoke basics of what is the reason that it's important to have a will and what happens should you pass on without a will. So obviously with this will topic, there are terminologies that might not come easy to some people. So I'm going to explain that a little further. So a testator is the person who is having their will drafted or whose will is being drafted for them. So the testator would be the person who is now saying what they want must happen with the estate. The female version of a testator is a testatrix. So I'm a testatrix. Ali and Siraj, they are testators when they are having their wills done. Last time we spoke, we just lightly grazed on the topic of wasiya. So we spoke about what the gross estate, which is the tarika, and the deductions therefrom, and then we spoke lightly about what the wasiya is, which was your third portion that you were allowed to bequeath to whomever you wished. And then we also just spoke around about the set portions. Now today, I think it's going to be beneficial for me to speak about this wasiya portion. So the wasiya refers to the portion of your estate a third portion of your estate that you can leave to whomever you wish to. Right? So you have your gross estate, and after we've deducted the funeral expenses and we've deducted your liabilities, you have this net estate that is left. And of this net estate, you can take up to a third. So I want to stress on up to a third, which means you don't have to use the whole third. So you can use up to a third, and you can bequest it to whoever you wish. So that bequest means you can leave to yeah, bequest basically means like you wish to leave it to somebody. So it's your wish to give it to somebody. So with the wasiyat portion, you may bequest, you may leave it to whomever you want to, provided that they are not set heirs. So that means that I, for example, have a husband and I have children. They are my set heirs. So should I decide to leave a wasiyat portion, it shouldn't be to one of them, right? It should be to, for example, somebody that's not necessarily going to inherit from my estate as a set beneficiary. So that is what a bequest is, what a wasiyat is.
Okay, so the wasiya is that third portion. It's up to a third portion. So can I decide that I don't want to give a third portion at all? I want to opt out of it and not give the one third portion as a wasiya?
So yes, you can actually, the wasiyat is completely optional. So you can decide that, you know what, I don't want to leave the full 33 to anybody, or I don't want to leave it, I don't want to utilize it at all. And then what happens is that third portion just simply falls a part of your residue. So the 2/3, that just becomes a bigger amount. And then it will then leave in those set portions to your set beneficiaries. So it's not necessarily for you to utilize the wasiya if you do not want to utilize the wasiya. Yeah, so that's on how that works.
That's interesting. I wonder. So in most cases, so the way it sounds to me is, we're thinking in easy terms now. So we're saying, imagine someone just has all of their money in cash, right? So they take a third of the cash and they say, yeah, I want to give this to someone who's not a set heir, right? And so they just take a third of their money and they give it to someone. But in most cases, we find that people's finances is a bit more complicated, right? So they have trusts and they have business entities, and they have, all of these various, assets, right? Investment portfolios and those types of things. If someone were to say, my property is maybe, worth a bit more than a third of my estate, but or my business is worth bit more than a third, but I would like to, give that as wasiya. Is that possible? Can someone do that?
So if the person that you are leaving the wasiya, like I said, the wasiya should be left to somebody that's not a set A. If you've done that and this portion now exceeds the 1/3, it would then be up to the beneficiaries, your set A's, to say that, you know what, yes, this person may receive it. If they say no, that, you know what, we don't want them to receive it, then they cannot go up until that point. You cannot go over the 33.3%, the third portion. But if they agree, then it is all fine. It is, however, it must be noted that then it is not really you bequeathing. It's actually then your heirs gifting that individual. Because remember now, if you've surpassed the 33% and your heirs have agreed to this, then they are essentially getting a little bit less in their pockets. So their wealth is diminishing a little bit. So they are actually gifting then that portion to this non-heir. Right? So that's how it works.
Okay.
Also, with the wasiya portion, there are instances where people want to leave a set heir from the wasiya portion. So now they want to leave a little bit extra to their son or to their daughter. Once again, it is not really, it shouldn't really be done like that, because it is now, sort of being unfair from that point of view, because now you're giving somebody more than what is their given share. However, if the set is agree, then it is fine. Then it is okay. Sometimes there are instances where you would want to give a child a little bit more than the others. Perhaps the child has a mental or physical disability, so there's a justifiable reason. Provided that the others agree to it, it should be fine.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. The other thing, well, let's maybe give Siraj an opportunity to ask a question. Siraj, do you have any questions there?
Right. I think from my side, maybe I just want to take a step back, Fatima. I know we mentioned quite a few terms when discussing this, and just taking a look from the Sharia and perhaps the laws of the country. Is there a difference between heirs and beneficiaries when it comes to the will?
Yes, there actually
Okay.
is. So an heir is generally referred to as somebody that is inheriting intestate. So it's generally somebody that is inheriting not because somebody has left them specifically something, it's because due to some or the other reason they are entitled to inherit. So remember I spoke about the Intestated Succession Act the last time, which is if you pass on without a will, these are the set rules and these are the people that's going to inherit. So those people are called heirs. And in the term of Sharia, it's the same process. It's the wasiya, people that inherit from a wasiya, they are actually sort of beneficiaries that are inheriting, because the individual, the testator, is saying, I want you to have this. Right? Whereas with the 2/3 portion, the set is they are entitled to that because they are related to this individual by that way. So that is the difference between the two. I know it's so many terms to come to terms with, so many legal terms to come to try and understand. But basically, in intestate, when there isn't a will or when there isn't a testated portion, a portion that you can give how you want to, those people are called heirs.
Okay. So basically saying anybody you nominate to receive from your will is considered a beneficiary, and the heirs are those that are stipulated in the Quran and the Sharia that it has to basically get from your will or from your estate.
Correct. That's correct. Although, I'm going to put a little bit of a spanner in the works here, because if we had been living in a Muslim country, right, and you had passed away, then yes, by all means, those are called set heirs, because there is no testation. This is intestate. The Quran stipulates that these are the people that are going to inherit, and the country that you are living in abides by Sharia, and so you are going to get according to that, right? But because we are living in South Africa, could we say that that they are considered really is? Because you have the freedom of testation. You are actually saying, hey, you know what? I wanted to go according to Sharia. I want you to have this amount according to Sharia. You understand? So that's sort of
Yeah.
like a spanner in the works. And I think that's where it comes in with, juggling Sharia and South African law and then putting them together. But yeah, that's essentially what it is. And I'm apologizing to the viewers if I'm using so many like terms and it's getting confusing. But yeah, you are spot on with that, Siraj.
No, look, I think, Fatima, what we'll do is definitely over the next few weeks, as we continue through the conversation around, Sharia worlds and states, we'll definitely, continue to, break down these terms and simplify it for our viewers. So the one other question that I had for you was, I wanted to see, or I wanted to find out from you is it possible on that wasiya or that 1/3 portion for someone to if that's now the beneficiary, right? If
Yes.
can that beneficiary of the 1/3 or that wasiya portion be a non-Muslim?
With living in South Africa and with looking at Islam in the rest of the world, you will see that Islam is growing at a rapid rate. So there are lots of people coming into the folds of Islam. And Islam allows for that 1/3 to be given to non-Muslims. So if I had to come into the fold of Islam, and in Islam, for example, we put the value that we have and the respect and that we have for our parents, for example, so our parents, because we were born Muslims and our parents are Muslim, your parents would be considered a set A, right? But if I had come into the fold of Islam and my parents are not Muslim, but I am a Muslim, it I am allowed to give my parents up to 33%, that third portion, should I wish to do so. And I think that is the beauty in it, because you've come into Islam. The Quran is not saying, oh, your parents are not Muslim, therefore you're not supposed to give them anything. No, the Quran is saying that, you know what? Yes, your parents are not Muslim, they cannot be set as, but here's up to 33% that you can leave to them. You can leave them to any non-Muslim. You can leave it to your sister. You can leave it to your brother. Sorry for that, my throat. You can leave it to your brother. But the truth is that, yes, you can leave that third portion to a non-Muslim. And you know what I've also realized is that um, your parents, as if you were a Muslim, if you are born a Muslim and your parents are Muslim, right? Your parents are each entitled to 16.67% of your estate, provided now you're married and you've got children you've got children. So let's say your mom gets 16.67%. She's Muslim, you are born Muslim, and your dad also gets that. That's 33.34%. So if you are coming into Islam, right, you can give how much away? A third, which is 33.33%. So you essentially can give your parents the same that they would have gotten had they been had they been a Muslim.
It's
So
amazing.
that is the beauty of it.
Yeah. It's like Islam has made provision for those type of circumstances and situations, and it's actually beautiful when you think about it. And even if you look at how Islam is spread across the world, Islam was the final religion. So there were other religions before us. There were other tribes, other cultures, other people. And with Islam coming, and we always say, Islam is a way of life. And when Allah addresses people, He says, "Oh mankind." He doesn't say, "Oh Muslims." Obviously there are certain laws and rules where Allah, that speaks to Muslims and mu'mins. But there's a lot of laws where Allah says, "Oh mankind." It doesn't distinguish between what your religion is, what your faith or your background, culture is. And I think this comes down to the same thing with the will as well. It's that if we've got these set laws for us as Muslims, now we should set out our will, but it also makes provision for situations where you could have become Muslim, your parents could not be Muslim, except all of those things, and it's actually something beautiful if you think about it.
It truly is, because I can only but imagine coming into a faith and perhaps nobody in your family is Muslim. And Islam would never expect you to turn your back on your parents. I mean, those are the people that fed you, that took care of you, that raised you. I mean, that probably that gave you the education that you had, that gave you the ability, to think, to apply yourself. And there you found Islam. So Islam will never expect you to now turn your back on your parents and to be like, no, I'm a Muslim, you're not a Muslim. We don't, you know, no. So yes, there are situations, and we'll see in the next course that I'm going to do. When I do this again, we're going to speak about mirath, which is the 2/3 portion, which speaks to who are set beneficiaries. And I want to bring it across that there are people that are not going to be considered set beneficiaries. So for example, the adopted child is not considered a set beneficiary. However, you may utilize of this wasiya portion, should you wish to also leave your adopted child something. So yes, he may not or she may not be a set beneficiary, but that is no reason to not try and leave something to that child. I want to speak about something that I think it's a bit, it's, Ali, when I first came here, you said Fatima Parker, she's the first woman, and I feel that if I don't say this, I would be doing injustice. I think that this is a topic that a lot of women, and I find a lot of women have spoken to me about it, and they want to speak about it. And I think as Muslims, we don't really speak about it. So in my experience, I've had many men have come to me and have said, and women, to be honest with you, have come to me and they've said, Fatima, I had a child that was born outside of a marriage. So a child born outside of wedlock. And because the child is born outside of wedlock, the child is not due to inherit. The child is not considered a set heir, which we all are well aware of. As a
maybe
woman,
on that, if I can just interject. So you're saying that if a child is born outside of wedlock, that they are not a set heir. So they then don't, even if it's let's say a boy who would normally get the 2/3 portion or twice the portion of the girl, in that case, because it's born, that child's born out of wedlock, they would not inherit.
yes, that is correct. There are obviously different schools of thoughts and opinions as to if, for example, you now marry the father of the child, or how far along you were pregnant. Those are different things, and I don't feel that this is the platform for that, because right now we're speaking about wasiyat. So in this situation that I'm speaking to now, I'm speaking about a child that was born outside of a marriage, and the parents did not get married, right? So the parents did not get married. If the child is born to a woman, so let's say I had a child outside of wedlock, and the child is now born to me, that child is definitely going to inherit from me. That child is a set heir. The child is not a set heir of the father, because I am not married to the father, and the child is born outside of a marriage, right? However, you'll see a lot of people use that as a nice, convenient scapegoat. So they were like, oh, I had a child before I got married, or I have a child with this woman, and I never married her, and therefore my children are entitled to their set portions, and unfortunately, this child is not going to get. No, you may utilize of your wasiya portion to also leave that child a portion. My argument is always that rather do, while you are here, if you are not able to take care of that child or acknowledge the child, or at least try in this small little way to win that child's heart over by at least including them in this part of it, because you know that that is your child. Do you understand? You know that that is your child. So if you feel that you want to do right by that child, use your wasiya portion. I can calculate till the T what it's, you can even say in your will, my child ABC was born outside of wedlock. I even would like to bequeath a portion of my wasiya to the child, and this portion should equal, if it's a girl, you can say should equal the portion that my daughters are receiving. The only downside is that it's obviously limited to the 33%. But I would say utilize your wasiya portion to do the right thing. If you know that you have a child and the child was not born within your marriage, and you want to fix things, or you feel that what you want to to give that child something, then do that. Because at the end of the day, when you are long gone and buried, you don't want somebody, especially a child of yours, to have that feeling within their, you don't know what that little, whether it's a 10 Rand or 100,000 Rand, is going to do to that person's heart. It might soften their heart towards you, and that child might end up making dua for you. And like I said, the wasiya portion, it doesn't matter whether the person is a Muslim or a non-Muslim, you may utilize that portion. So a lot of people use the wasiya portion also to give obviously to masjids. Those are not set beneficiaries. You can use the wasiya portion to pay for somebody to study hifz, but you can also use the wasiya portion to correct things that you perhaps didn't get right within your lifetime. And like I said, this is a topic that is very sensitive, but I would be lying to you if I had to tell you this is a very rare topic, a very rare occasion that this happened. It is so common. You wouldn't believe me.
And
If
with
I
that
might
said,
Ali, before we end, I just want to touch on something before we end up. I think it's a very interesting topic, especially the wasiyat part. I tell you why. I think there's a lot of people who don't understand the wasiyat part, doesn't know it exists within the Sharia law. So they're just thinking that there are set years and that will take place when I pass away. And what we've seen in the community is that a lot of people, they want to do right by their kids. They want to do right from a Sharia perspective. So what they would do in the event that they had a child out of wedlock, they will then give an asset, or they'll give an asset to the child while they are living. So listen, I'm going to give you this house because you cannot inherit from me because you were born out of wedlock, but I want to make it right by you. So I want to give you this house. I'm still alive, giving it to you. So when I pass away, the will then take care of the other kids or whatever else it is. But with the understanding of wasiya, you wouldn't need to then give those type of assets away while you are living. You can actually then put it into your will in the wasiyat part to ensure that the child who's born out of wedlock actually does get something from your will, something from your estate.
So yes, that is correct. So remember, because we're speaking about inheritance here, I'm not speaking about gifts that you are given during your lifetime. So during your lifetime, there's no limitation. You can give to whomever you want to. If you want to even give one child of yours everything, you can do that. The dangers in South Africa with giving while you are still alive is that there might be a trigger of donations tax, because you cannot simply give. SARS is going to think that, you're actually just giving to make your estate smaller so that I don't get to charge you some form of estate duty later on. So there's an issue that you might trigger donations tax. So that's that one aspect of it. But you are correct in saying the wasiya does allow for you to sort of correct this. If you see that your son is going to get 15% and you've got another son outside of, guess what? You can fix that. You can also give them similar so that they don't feel, a child that is born outside of wedlock already feels that they are not a part of a family unless the father makes him feel like he's a part of the family. And now when it comes to my father passes away, there's even more drama because my father didn't even consider me a child and Islam didn't consider me a child. But Islam makes provisions for, yes, I understand that there are certain rules that the child needs to be born within the marriage in order to inherit an X, Y, and Z. But also, there is a wasiyat. You can use this to fix that. And that's the beauty of Islam. So there's, like I said, this is a very sensitive issue and there's lots of other topics. So I can go further into it, maybe at a later stage where we speak about what happens when you fall pregnant, you are married, but you fall pregnant with somebody else's child. How does that child inherit? So there's lots of sensitive issues and topics that we need to deal with within this. But yes, Siraj, wasiyat 100% can be utilized to correct a wrong in that way.
Look, we can talk about a lot of examples within the community. I think one of the questions we get as well, especially from the females, and maybe we can touch on this next week and talk about the wisdom around. So we always get this question is, so why does my brother inherit twice as I inherit? Is it the issue of inequality in Islam? Because he's male, I'm female. And obviously, these obviously the other reasons. And perhaps we can touch on that and speak about the wisdom behind that and why boys inherit twice the amount what girls do, and it will be interesting discussion.
Yeah, so that's more part of Mirath, which is something we're going to discuss in the future. But right now, I just wanted to, make people understand really the wasiyat, so that when I do come to the part of Mirath and these are the set beneficiaries, people don't start thinking, oh, you know, in Islam, they're unfair. I love my adopted child like it's my own child, but I can't. I want you to, when I speak about that, I want you to go back in your mind and be like, oh, wait, there's that 33%. And I'm very about the wasiyat portion. Like, you don't have to use it. If you don't have any reason to use it, you don't have to use it. All that's going to happen is that your set is are going to get a little more. You can use it for things like building a masjid, donating Quran, paying for somebody's child to study hifz, you know, all those wonderful things. But you can also use it within your personal life to try and make things better. And like I said, I wouldn't be fair to my sisters out there if I didn't speak about this issue, because there are many women out there that unfortunately, you know what, the father of their child acknowledges the child, that is his child, but when he passes on, there's no acknowledgement. And the issue that I have with it is that yes, you should be married and all of those things before you have children, but the child itself, the child, him or herself, didn't do anything wrong. And to have that on your heart, that your father didn't acknowledge you or didn't, that as a Muslim, it just doesn't bode well with me. So when Muslim men come to me with this big secret, it's usually a big secret. Oh, I want to tell you, when I was younger, I made this girl pregnant. I know the child, um, but my family doesn't know. Or guess what? This is not America and it's not a movie. There's no reading of the will. You know, it's not, we're not going to call your whole family together, you know, like Bold and the Beautiful, and read a will and everybody's going to be surprised. It's nothing like that. So feel free to use your wasiya portion before it's too late. You know, when you're in your grave, you don't want to be worried about being unfair, being unjust. You know, your money's not going to be buried with you. Whether your children get 100,000 rand or 75,000 rand because now they had to give to a sibling, so be it. Do the right thing.
Absolutely. And Fatima and Siraj, thank you very much for that. I think this is a very interesting discussion. I can already see that we have lots more to cover. We mentioned things like taxes, donations, taxes. That's something that we can dive into. That would be an episode in its own or on its own. You know, there was a few other terms that we talked about, and some other concepts that we also discussed. But I want to thank our viewers for watching this evening and tuning in. And we encourage you to please leave some comments for Fatima and for ourselves. We're really looking forward to seeing what questions you guys want us to answer. That is what this is all about. Please like and subscribe our videos. It helps us, and it will get us, you know, more awareness, create more awareness in the community. Please hit the bell icon. And from me, Ali Salih, from MuslimFin and the rest of the team, we greet you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Salam.
Assalamu alaikum.